Welcome to the all-new list analysis show. With myself, the Spider, and this person, aka the Bone, now available on a meat raffle, apparently.
We need to donate towards some worthy cause.
Right.
Maybe getting Beard to shave his beard.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
The winner wins me, and Beard has to shave his beard. Now, we haven't told Beard this,
right?
But I think it's only fair.
Yes, of course. I'm sure he'd be fine with it.
Yeah. He can become beardless again.
That's right.
Yeah, and then he becomes beardish. And then beard.
And then beard.
It's like some sort of Pokemon.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, what is this show about? Right, so these list analysis, or list analyses, if you like, shows used to be pretty much a staple here when I first started Tabletop Tactics, and I brought them back. It came to the point where I just didn't have time because I wanted to focus on doing more battle reports for you guys. But now that we've got more time, which is good, we're going to do these more regularly. So the way it works is if you want to get a list analysis produced for you, there's no guarantee, but all of the lists need to be posted on the Tabletop Tactics forum, which is over on the Tabletop Tactics website. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can jump over to the website. You don't need to be an on-demand subscriber for it. You can just sign up for a free guest account and post lists and interact with the community over there, which is cool unto itself.
Yeah.
But that's where we actually look for the lists. So today we've got a Blood Angel list.
Yeah.
We're going to also, I should caveat this by saying that if you're really after a list analysis, I mean, obviously there's a lot of lists that are posted, so there's no guarantee that you're going to get the list analysed in terms of a video. But if you are wanting to have a chance, make sure it's a Codex army. Just because I feel that the Codex armies are more relevant now, and with the Index armies and Codexes being released so quickly, it's probably more relevant to do a Codex army because we know that at least won't be changing for a while, right? So what do we have? We've got Blood Angels today. We did a Tyranid one very recently, just over on demand. The Blood Angels are very close to my heart. Probably my favourite. Well, not probably, they are my favourite Space Marine chapter. They were also the first army I ever collected. Now, Sanger obviously is the Blood Angel player on the channel.
Yep.
Which means that I would probably do Flesh Terrors if I eventually get around to doing the studio army myself. But let's go over this list. The title unto itself really made me pick it.
Yeah.
So it's the list coming up next. So here is the list, posted on the forums by Tom Danvers. Thank you for being a boss. Thank you for using the Tabletop Tactics website. Your list immediately caught my attention because of the title. You called it Bald's Moving Castle, which is obviously a reference to the Studio Ghibli film Howl's Moving Castle, which is absolutely epic.
Yes, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favour.
That's right. Now, I think you were slightly inaccurate in your title because you should have called it Bald's Moving Castles, given the nature of this list.
Oh yeah, very good.
Yes, you see what I mean? Yeah. But so that's what I'll call it.
Okay, you're just gonna. Well, it is a list analysis. So we even analysed the names of the list, apparently.
Well, it was the name that pulled me in, but I mean, as I've already said, I absolutely love Blood Angels. They're very close to my heart. Although you actually you saw this title and picked the list, didn't you? So fair enough.
Yeah.
Right, now let's go over the list. Now, Tom was really good with his post because he actually pretty much broke down tactically how it would work as well, which is useful for us when we're doing the analysis because it's not always apparent, because while you may be aware of what you're wanting to do in your head, if it's not a standard meta list, you're doing something a bit different, sometimes it's useful just to explain that a little bit more so that we have an understanding of it. But
the more info you can give us, the better.
Yeah, exactly, which means you're more likely to get a list analysis as well, right?
Exactly.
So, right, what we've got, let's go over the list. It's got a Battalion Detachment and a Vanguard Detachment. So he's rocking 7 command points in total. We'll cover the Battalion Detachment first. So in the Battalion, he has a captain. Now, this captain is a very popular build right now, which Tom actually explains how it works in the post as well. But for those which are pretty familiar with the 8th edition meta, especially as Blood Angel players or playing against them, they will know that this captain is around. I believe he's called Captain Smashhammer, is the captain sort of the 8th edition meta name. However, I particularly like Tom's spin on it because he called him Slamginius.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Yeah, so there we go, Slamginius. Right, so what's he got? He's the Warlord, Artisan of War. That gives him +1 damage, so he's rocking damage 4 on his Thunderhammer.
Yeah,
ouch.
that's great.
That's nasty. He's also got Storm Shield. He's also got a jump pack, which he replaces with a relic called the Angel's Wing, which means he's re-rolling failed charges, and it gets better, the enemy can't overwatch against him.
I like it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Tau wouldn't like that, though.
No, they wouldn't.
You know, Tau wouldn't like that, would they? But look, that's what he's got. Obviously, being the warlord and being a sort of combat warlord, you're a little bit more susceptible, if you like, I suppose, to giving away that warlord point. And you probably will give it away most games, because whilst Slamginius is an epic character and will destroy almost anything in combat, as Tom rightfully points out, with all of the buffs that you can give Blood Angels in terms of the attacks and stratagems, he can kill a Primarch, he can kill a Knight, in a turn. He's that good. But then he's sort of exposed generally, and he probably will get shot and killed. But the idea is that when he's under 130 points.
Yeah. And then you kill a knight.
Yeah, and this is why you're seeing him.
Yeah.
But I would take him if I was running Blood Angels. Know. So there you go. So there's his captain. We've then got a librarian with a jump pack. So that's the only upgrade jump pack. But he comes in. He's got the Unleash Rage psychic power, which does give +1 attack to a Blood Angels unit. Very useful.
Yeah.
Especially if he's running a big blob of something, a big assault blob, or you could give it to the captain if you wanted to, but generally you want to put it on a big unit because you get more utility. That makes sense. He's also gone for Shield of Sanguinius, which he says he could cast on maybe a Storm Raven, so obviously giving away some of the list here. So then what we have are in the troops, 3 units of scouts. 1 unit of scouts has all bolters, 1 unit of scouts has all sniper rifles, and 1 unit of scouts has the Astartes shotgun, which they keep handy for close encounters.
Yeah.
You get the reference?
Yeah, of course, aliens.
Yeah.
I like to keep this for close encounters. Eat this.
That's right, yeah. Hicks, absolute boss,
what a weapon.
my childhood hero.
Yeah.
Along with Conan, of course.
Of course.
Right. The shotguns, as cool as they are, keeping them handy for close encounters, they are for the rule of cool, which is what you said. And look, fair enough. Frankly, generally the scouts you don't want to keep, you don't really want them that close generally, so you either want to give them bolters or sniper rifles, but as you say, the shotguns aren't bad, it's fine, and it is cool, so why not? The other thing with the scouts, the most important thing with the scouts, is that they're kind of critical to the list that Tom's built, because he needs to create a drop zone for this assault heavy army. The scouts create great screening for his own forces, but more importantly in this instance they're going to create these drop zone bubbles that your enemy can't sort of deep strike in to prevent you deep striking.
Exactly.
So he needs that midfield board control, if you like, and that's what the scouts provide, which is really useful. So that is nearly the battalion. He then caps it off, I've already kind of hinted at it, with 2 Storm Ravens, or in this case 2 of Baal's moving castles. Makes perfect sense. Now, he couldn't afford the multi-melters. I'm not sure if he'd want to take them. Personally, I would. He didn't mention it. But at the moment, this list is 1995 points. He wouldn't have been able to afford the multi-melters. So he's gone for twin heavy bolters, the standard 2 Storm Strike missile launchers, which you have to have, twin las cannon, so there's some good additional anti-armor there with the Storm Strike missiles, and the absolute must-take, the 2 Hurricane bolters. Now, he does say he would use these for clearing screens and hordes, and then use the heavier weaponry to hunt armor or monsters. That makes perfect sense. I still rate the Storm Raven very highly, even in a meta such as, with things like Reaper Span and so forth, because, you don't play Elder all the time, and Storm Ravens are still pretty tough, and they are, they kick out a lot of firepower, actually, for what they do. A couple of Storm Ravens, you can't really go too far wrong. That's his battalion. Okay, then he's got a Vanguard, so that's aka the minimum 3 elite 1 HQ slot detachment. He has Lamatis, the Death Company named chaplain. Very appropriate in this list, I think. Personally, I don't know how you would paint it, Tom, or how you envision the theme. I would paint the Storm Ravens as Death Company Storm Ravens as well. That's just what I would do, but that's me. And since your captain is also falling to the Death Company, because as you've said with the stratagem and so forth, making Death Company before the game, you would paint him as like Death Company as well.
Yeah.
It would be cool, and the librarian would be like the caretaker of the force.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying
to keep them together.
Yeah, that's how I would do it. And the scouts are just there to bring in the pain. They call in the airstrike.
Yeah.
So right now, what we've got is Lamatis. He allows Death Company units to re-roll failed charges. That's very useful in this list. Very useful in this list indeed. He also allows re-roll failed hits in combat, which is of course very important. I should have mentioned as well that he did say with the captain, with the reroll ones, he would be sort of trying to keep the Storm Ravens within the vicinity as well when he moves them up the board, so they get those rerolls to hit. So Lamatis, a good take. Again, under 130 points, very useful with the rest of the list that you have. He's then gone for 4 elites slots. He's gone for 2 units of Death Company. 1 is a maximum size blob, 15 of them. 2 of them with thunder hammers. He's absolutely done the right thing with the loadout, which has given them all bolt guns and a chainsword. Yeah. Because Death Company, they just want to do lots of hard-hitting attacks, and they do get a lot of attacks. Yeah. They like berserkers. They'll mutilate most things in combat through weight of dice. And having the bolters as well just gives them even more additional firepower before they go in. Rapid firing, removing screens, etc. It's a good play. Then he's got... This is a bit more... this is, for me, the odd part of the list. He's got 1 unit of 5 Death Company in addition to that. So he's got 20 in total. One's a big 15-man blob, which he deep strikes in, he says, and of course he uses the Descent of... I believe it's called the Descent of Angels. Yes, right. Stratagem. So they charge 3d6, guys. Okay, and then with the captain, near them, behind them, that means, of course, that they'll be re-rolling. He'll be re-rolling failed charges, but Lamatis deep strikes in with them, and they'll be re-rolling that failed charge as well. Yeah. So they're extremely likely to make it into combat. And ruin people's days. The 5-man Death Company unit, he said sometimes he'll use the Death Company stratagem, Forlorn Fury, I believe it's called, where basically they could get a free move. Yeah. They can move twice, which is really, really cool. But on only a 5-man Death Company unit, I don't see that as being... I suppose particularly scary. Yeah, I guess worth the points. Tom may have meant that he would sometimes use that on the actual big Death Company blob itself, though. Yeah. So I may have just sort of misread what you meant there, Tom. But
he's got options.
He's got options, exactly. You don't always have to deep strike the big blob, to be fair. Although I think in most instances I probably would. But if you are facing like a heavy Nurgling army or whatever, and they completely shut down your deep strike, and they don't really have that much firepower, you're absolutely right. You would just use Forlorn Fury on the big blob. Yeah, exactly. Because there's no point deep striking them in. You're actually more likely to get into combat with something you want by moving twice. So you've got options, which is good. Then you've got 2 Death Company Dreadnaughts. Completely approve of this because it adds to the moving castles. Yeah. And so both of them have Blood Talons, Melter Gun, Smoke Launchers, and Storm Bolters. These things, don't really need to say much about them. They're vicious in combat. The biggest issue you're going to have, Tom, in my opinion, is if you don't get first. You said you were trying backline your Storm Ravens, keep them out of range of, some nasty stuff. But there is a chance someone could destroy your Storm Raven, maybe even destroy both, which would be really painful. And then your Dreadnaughts are stranded in your deployment zone. Yeah, moving 8. Which would be a bit sucky.
Yeah, especially if you got something like Hammer and Anvil or something like
that. But
they're very
cool. Yeah. So, and if you do go first, your opponent is in a lot of trouble. Yeah. Because you will be able to deliver them, and then by the time that he does destroy the Storm Raven, they're already up the board in the space that you want to be in. So you're absolutely fine. Yeah. So look, first of all, love the list. Love the idea of the theme. I've obviously come up with a list, hence there being a list analysis and so has Bone. Yeah. Well, do you have any thoughts on it? Is there anything?
Well, I'll get into it as we go through
through your list.
Yeah, because it took me a while to kind of come up with something. yeah, anyway, we'll go through it.
Okay, fine. So Bones list coming up next. So we have Bones moving castle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or Bowles moving castle.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Or is
in
it?
this instance, is the question.
I'm gonna look. I love your list, Tom.
Yeah.
I really like it. I love the theme of it. I really think that if you get first turn, it's going to do some serious damage.
Yeah.
A lot of the points you've already gone over. It's great. However, there are some things in it that didn't work for me. For a couple of reasons, and I'm going to go through that. And it was a difficult one because once I changed one thing, then other things became not necessary anymore.
It's always the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that what I've come up with is actually a bit different from what you went for, but I think it still gets the idea of the army across and what you actually want to achieve when you're playing with this type of army. But it is different. So this is Bones' version of your list.
Are you saying that there aren't any castles in it anymore?
No, well, I mean, the castles are in the hearts of the Death Company.
Oh, that's very good.
Because they stand firm. I got there, I fumbled, but then I came up with something quite good there.
So in case you haven't guessed, so I don't know, and this is part of the beauty of, I think, the list analysis show. If you guys are, like, for those hobbyists which are into list building, which, you know, a lot of us were, you know, if you're into battle reports, most of you are probably.
Yeah.
And you often talk about lists with your friends. This is what I want to try. This is what I like, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, part of that sort of hobby is presenting a list to your friend.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like, this is what I've come up with.
Yeah.
And
so we sit in different rooms
Yeah,
in the studio,
I don't know what he's got.
and we make it up, and then we sit down and we film it. Look, I hope you guys enjoy it. We have a really good time doing it.
Well, I have no idea what you're doing
Yeah,
here,
no,
so
exactly. So
okay.
I've kept the flavour of it, and like I said, I think I've kept the play style of it as well. And I've kept a few things that you definitely did, and I've enhanced them, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree, but this is what I kind of came up with. And this is how I kind of think that Blood Angels at the moment need to be played, because they are a very powerful hitting army, but they are a bit of a glass cannon as well. And there are certain things that I think you can do to just help get a little bit more survivability out of the army. So I'm going to just go through how this list evolved quickly first. I think that as cool as the Death Company Dreadnaughts are, there's a lot of problems with them, and we've kind of touched on this already.
Right.
First of all, if you don't get first turn, because you have such a low unit count, and it's only +1 on the roll now, so it's not a guaranteed thing anymore.
Yeah.
Your Storm Ravens become bullet magnets. They're going to die. You know, if not one is killed, two is going to be killed. And most armies these days, like most of them, will have some sort of long-range weaponry which will be able to get them. I think you'd be very lucky to get them both out of line of fire. There are certain armies where that wouldn't be a problem, of course, but I would say the majority of them, you're going to have that problem, right? So what happens then if one of them dies, one of your Dreadnaughts, or two of them are stuck in your back line? We've already spoken about that. And these guys are great in combat. The only weapon they've got is the melter gun, which is only got a 12-inch range. So then they become ineffective, and you've lost about, they work out about 350 points of your army.
Right.
And then you've already lost, if you've already lost a Storm Raven as well, your army is depleting at a very fast rate at this stage. So I had to get rid of them. Both of them.
What, the Dreadnaughts?
The Dreadnaughts are gone. So when that happened...
And the Storm Ravens?
When that happened...
There's no castle anymore.
There's no castle anymore. Because if you don't have the Dreadnaughts, what's the point in having the Storm Ravens? So again, this is where it became something very different. So then I looked at the other things in your list, and I tried to enhance them and give them the best chance that you can get, which essentially is the Death Company, right? So I've come up with a battalion, and I've also come up with a Supreme Command Detachment. So you've still got your 7 command points. I've managed to keep you them. So in the battalion, I've kept your captain as is, because he's amazing, right?
Slam Guinness.
Yeah, Slam Guinness will forever be sung, his songs, on the battlefield and probably around the studio, to be honest. Such a funny name, I love it. I've kept the librarian as well. With the powers that you've used, I think that they're actually must take. The Unleashed Rage is amazing. It will mean that you can have one of your squad of Death Company with Black Rage as well, doing 5 attacks each.
Yeah.
And when you've got Thunderhammers in there...
See you later.
See you later, right? So we've got him in there too. Now, I've kept your scouts as well. But I've stripped them back because I needed to. So they've just got bolt guns. So they are there primarily for your board control. Yeah, I do like the rule of cool. I think that it's a really cool idea. Yeah. But if you're looking at something that could give you a bit more of a competitive edge, they're not really a take, unfortunately. But I mean, I think this whole army is rule of cool. So again, I feel kind of bad as we're going through doing this because I really like it. Yeah. But anyway, this is what we're doing. So I've kept them. So that's the battalion sorted. Very cool. In the elites, I've got 2 squads of Death Company, but they're 15-man squads. I kind of feel that any more Death Company, given with the stratagems that you can use now, then they become, like, if you had 3 blobs of 15, one of them's going to always be out of place unless there's a way that you can get them up there. Because you've got Descent of Angels, which really helps, and the Forlorn... I can never remember.
Forlorn Fury.
Forlorn Fury, yeah. So that should, with most deployments, get both of them in range for a turn 1 charge, which is what you want. Now, in this squad, each of them have 3 Thunderhammers in each of them, and the rest are bolt guns and chainswords.
So you had 1 more Thunderhammer than Tom actually had in his initial big blob.
Yeah, okay. I agree. Because then, if all your powers go off, you've got 15 hammers hitting, and they're flat damage 3 in each squad.
Not nice.
No, it's not. It's really good, right?
It's not nice.
So, and then you've got and then with the Red Thirst and stuff, you're wounding on them with 2s most of the time.
Yeah,
3s,
just incredible.
Yeah, which is amazing, right? So, given those strategies, I think that you'll get both of them in, or you should get both of them in if you get first turn. So this is keeping with your Alpha Strike idea, right? We've kept the bolt guns because, as you rightly said, it's excellent for screening, and your scouts are going to be able to help with that screening too. Yeah. Now, in the back lines, I've gone for something a bit different here. I've gone for 2 Razorbacks with twin assault cannons. And inside those Razorbacks, I've gone for 2 Devastator squads. Each of the Devastator squads have 2 las cannons in both of them. So you may have lost your Storm Ravens, but you've still got 4 las cannon shots in your back, being able to pick things off. And the twin assault cannons I've chosen because they're going to just help you get rid of any extra screening, right? Now, some of you may be thinking, yes, Bone, but you'll only be hitting on 4s if you need to move forward with them, because their range isn't that great.
Yes.
It's what, 24 inches?
It's 24 inches.
So if you move, it's 32.
Yeah.
Right. If you're moving them at full pelt. Now, on the majority of
36.
36.
So they move 12 inches.
They move 12 in. Oh, yeah, it's not 8.
Yeah.
I've been playing Tower all weekend.
Yeah.
So they move 12. All right, so 38. So that's even better. Yeah. So on the majority of boards, if someone is screening against you, you're going to be able to be in range of all of their screening. So you're going to be able to remove them.
Yeah.
So with the bolt guns and this, the screen is gone.
Right.
In my opinion, right?
Yes.
Now, 4s, though, isn't great to hit on. So this is where the Supreme Command Detachment comes in.
Oh, okay.
I've taken Commander Dante.
Oh, well, you've got Dante in the list.
I've got Dante in the list. So I'm metagaming this a little bit because you need...
The real Slamguinius.
Yeah, the real Slamguinius, right? So he's sitting in the back with your las cannons, and he's also sitting there with the twin assault cannons, right? So you're re-rolling all of your hits.
Right.
In that little... So that is my castle. That's right. Bones' castle. That's a little castle.
Bones' castle.
That is to guarantee that you'll get your screening in, and you get rid of the screening that's going to be stopping you. It should do it. And also, 4 las cannons in the back re-rolling hits ain't bad.
No.
You know, you're going to be able to start picking off, if they've got a knight or something like that, you can wait, you can start taking the wounds off them just to make sure that Slamguinius does his job.
Right.
So the extra 4 las cannons, I put them in essentially because we had to lose the Storm Ravens.
Yes.
Yeah. So then to fill out the rest of that squad, the Supreme Command Detachment rather, I've got Lamates in there as well. So he's a must take if you're taking Death Company, because as I said, you'll be re-rolling all the hits with him, and they're all doing 5 attacks.
Yeah.
And then I've got a lieutenant in there for you as well.
Okay, interesting.
With a jump pack. So not only will you be re-rolling all of your hits, you'll be re-rolling all wounds of 1 as well.
Yeah.
And because of the bloodthirst, you're going to be mainly wounding on 2s, re-rolling 1s.
Oh, the red thirst, yeah.
The red thirst, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the list. 1999 points.
Interesting.
It keeps with your theme. It is a little different, I appreciate that, but I think it utilises what you were trying to do and just enhances it, in my opinion. So that's, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's very interesting. I think in this list, I would consider Hal to be Dante.
Yeah.
And he's left his castles at home. Yeah. That's what's happened. So Dante is Hal in this list. Right now, I think it's very interesting. I really agree with the dual Death Company blob. Like you guys, I kind of already hinted at, the single 5-man Death Company unit for me was a bit of a non-event, if you like. I don't know if I mentioned in the first list breakdown, Tom said he could maybe start them in the Storm Raven or whatever. You know, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, it is 5 Death Company, and when they charge, they're still going to put out a ton of attacks, and they still are pretty good, but it's not really powerful and scary, you know. Dante, you know, is an absolute monster. There's nothing that can be... He's not a bad choice. He's never going to be a bad choice to take, I don't think.
No.
The 2 las cannon squads, you've got 2 las cannons in each. I mean, I guess the weakness of this list in comparison with Tom's would be that despite having the las cannons available on the 2 Devastator squads, in his list he would still have 4 more Storm Strike missile launchers shots a turn than your current list. You know, Hurricane Bolters aside, you've got twin assault cannons, so you know that's kind of a different thing, and you've got bigger Death Company blobs, so
sure.
Horde isn't really an issue for you.
No. So yeah, I guess what I was trying to go for with that is more to guarantee that the screen is removed, so you can get in these 2 big blobs of Death Company. Because,
and I think it will do that.
Yeah.
To be fair, actually, I think will the list work? Yeah, and look, I like I said, like you said, the Dreadnaughts are really cool, but there is a potential issue with them being stranded, which is a lot of points left in your back line if that happens, and you're like, at that point it's maybe game over, depending on, you know, who you're playing, which is a tough break. Yeah, look, I like it. I think it's definitely different to what he had.
Sorry.
But it definitely it can definitely play, I think, effectively on the field. Interesting, because we've done some similar things, but we've also done some very different things. So, so what I'm going to do, well, let's go over my list, and then we can probably do a wrap up at the end and sort of come to some conclusions, I think. So that's coming up next. Tom, let's kick this off. Spiders moving castles coming up next. Is this better than what you've got? Yeah, I think so. Actually, yeah, I'm confident to say it is better. It's more optimised than what you have. I do have a command point less than you. I'm only rocking a single battalion, and the fluff bunny in me, if you like, has sort of run away a little bit, and I take the theme and then just bring it to its natural conclusion. I would run this as my own personal Fresh Terrors list, and I think I'd have a lot of fun with it. And I think that you could, you know, if you know what you're doing. So again, it's one of these armies. Assault armies are very delicate to run. They're not. You actually need to be very clever to run assault armies properly. Most people think it's a run and charge at you thing. Look, there is that aspect, but actually to play and beat a variety of different types of armies using what I call, as part of the Tactica series, which is an on-demand thing, part of the Dragon Tactica series, what I call a murder-based list, which is basically an assault army. It actually takes quite a bit of finesse to play them properly, and the list design is really, really critical to make them work. Now, this is a murder-based list. 8th edition murder-based list, which I'm about to update those tacticas on demand very shortly. But you can consider this a murder-based list, Tom. So what we've got, I have the captain. Now, I've got 2 loadouts for this captain. One is my fluffy loadout, okay? and one is my competitive loadouts. Now, the competitive loadouts, the list comes to 1997 points. The fluffy loadout, the list comes to 2,000 points. All right. Now, this would be my Flesh Terror captain. He's basically identical to yours. He's got the Angel's Wing, he's got a Storm Shield, he's got a Thunder Hammer, but because I would be running him, and he's obviously got the Warlord, he's the Warlord, right? And you'd use the stratagem to make him Death Company and so forth. Now, what I would do to represent his Thunder Hammer is just give him a massive double-handed chainsword.
Yeah.
You know, Eviscerator basically is what I'd give him, and say that that's a Thunder Hammer, because it's Flesh Terrors, that's just me. And I would give him a Mastercrafted bolt gun, because the Death Company, which I've kept, have also got the bolt guns, and he just looks like it would all be uniform and it would all make sense. Now, that's not as good as taking the Storm Shield, okay? So that's just the fluff bunny in me, I would do that.
Yeah.
But in this instance, let's assume we've got the Storm Shield, right? So he's got his Eviscerator, aka Thunder Hammer, and he's got a Storm Shield. Very, very cool. I've also got the Marties. He's a boss.
Yeah.
You have to take him. You need to reroll charge.
Yeah.
I've gone for 3 scout squads as well, for all of the reasons which I approved of in your initial list. However, I've always been a massive component of not taking things for the sake of just doing one role. I always seek duality in whatever unit I take, because I believe if you don't have duality, I believe it's you are not being points efficient. Now, there's going to be many that would argue against me here, but even if from a competitive standpoint, I would do the same thing. I have spent the points, so I have spent some extra points on these guys to give them sniper rifles, okay? But I feel that the additional utility that those scouts then are giving you is well worth the additional points for the sniper rifles, because to be able to, 5 sniper rifles is not going to kill a character, 10 is not going to kill a character, 15, when you start plucking away those mortal wounds, cheeky Spoilpox Scrivener in the Nurgle backline or whatever that's buffing all of the Plague Bearers for a +1 to hit, over a couple of turns you will probably kill him. You've got a chance. Maybe Spoilpox Scrivener is a bad example because he's got Feel No Pain, but we'll discuss in the Resilient. But any normal buffing character, the little 4 wound ones, over a couple of turns you will plink them away, and it makes the scouts really irritating and a threat that all of a sudden kind of needs to be dealt with, actually. They're not only then providing you with the drop zone you require, but they're providing you with utility to remove those important buffing characters, or at least pressure your opponent into having to deal with them. And that is what this list is designed to do, and any good murder list is designed to do, to alleviate pressure from the real stars of your show, if you like, which are the assault units, because you must deliver the assault units. But the only way you can deliver the assault units is by creating valid target saturation. It's the only way it works, okay? So I talk about this more specifically and more in detail on the Murder Tactica, but in summary, that's what we're doing here. So you've got your 3 scout units. They've got some utility now, as opposed to just basically providing you with a drop zone and some screening. We then have 4 elite slots in this battalion, because you can take up to 6 in a battalion anyway. I've gone for 2 large blobs of Death Company. Now, I don't quite have 15. I've got 12. I still do have 2 Thunder Hammers in there, though, and the rest have bolt guns and chainswords. Frankly, would the 15 be nice? Yes. But frankly, 12 is usually going to be enough to absolutely butcher whatever it is that you're attacking anyway. You should have an overspill of attacks, in fact, with the 15. So really, the 15 are there for the ablative wounds. We then have 2 Death Company Dreadnaughts. Okay. Now, I've kept them in. But the reason I've kept them in this instance, I've also had the spare points to give them Magna Grapple so that they add 2 to their charge rolls against vehicles, which is useful. Furioso Fists, Melter Gun, Storm Bolters. Now, these guys are still great. It's just we had the issue with the delivery system. We had the issue with, if someone did go first against you and did manage to down the Storm Ravens, that would cause you a massive problem, okay, because they'd be in your back line. Now, I've got the 2 Storm Ravens still. They've got the las cannons, they've got twin heavy bolters. Like you, I couldn't afford the multi-melters. 2 hurricane bolters, 2 storm strike missile launchers. Now, as I said, it's 1997 points. It's 2,000 if we do the fluffy version of my captain. I'm still irritated. I can't remember if the jump packs actually do take up 2 spots in the Storm Raven. I feel the need to check right now, so I'm going to. Storm Raven, there we go. So, transport. yeah, each jump pack or Terminator takes a space of 2 models. Look, fair enough. So they're never going to be able to transport the blobs, if you like. But in my mind, I like to think that they could, from a fluff point of view, and that the army sort of delivered, you know, just on the inside of the atmosphere. These Storm Ravens and the Death Company jump out the bottom of it. It's very cool. Anyway, so what's happening with this list? This is how it works. The reason why I could afford, I suppose if you like, to keep the Dreadnaughts despite the risk in this list is because that large unit of Death Company that starts on the board now creates, in my opinion, enough saturation to try and ensure that at least one Storm Raven can deliver its cargo. Because this is the thing. Before, you had no other threat on the board because your big blob's up in orbit, generally speaking, right? So the only real target, and even the scouts weren't that scary, you know, so the only real target the opponents had were the Storm Ravens, which was the problem. Now with a massive blob of Death Company on the board, which is potentially moved twice already, your opponent, quite frankly, cannot afford. He cannot afford for that second Death Company unit to get in. He just can't. So most opponents are going to put a substantial amount of firepower into that Death Company blob on the floor to remove them. Most of them are, which means that that's firepower that's being taken away from your Storm Ravens, which means hopefully we've increased your percentage of survival here of at least one of the Storm Ravens, right? So that's my list. I think it keeps to the theme. I think it would be awesome as a Flesh Terra theme, although to be fair, it's an awesome Blood Angel / Death Company theme anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I personally.
You're not sold on the Generals.
I'm not.
Yeah, I can understand.
I'm not. I think 2 of them, even if you get them both in, they're going to do some serious damage.
Yeah.
But if that's all that's in there, for example, I just don't think it's going to do the business. I think they're going to get shot and they're going to die.
Both the Storm Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, it's the list, like I said, already kind of worked, and there was that element to it.
Yeah.
I think definitely by getting the second blob of Death Company in there, you've definitely increased that. So it becomes, I mean, I'm starting to feel like when you think about it, you go, okay, so I have to kill this, and this has to die, and this has to die. It's
that's
good.
the thing. Everything in my list must be dealt with.
Yeah.
It has to be. It's all got utility.
Yeah.
So it comes down to your opponent's target priority and how much firepower they actually have. I mean, against a lot of non-firepower based armies, so things like demons, for example, that's actually a massive problem for them because the Death Company will ruin most demon blobs because of the pure weight of attacks.
Yeah. And
you back it up with things like the Dreadnaughts as well. And you can take out some nasty stuff. But look, I agree with you as well. I think the Dreadnaughts are the risky part of the list. They still are risky. You're still investing points there into the moving castles, if you like.
Yeah.
But for me, the theme of it was too good to not do.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. When I started working at, I was suddenly like, oh no, this isn't a moving castle anymore.
No.
But, so I'm glad you kind of tried to stick a lot closer to it than me, who just essentially tore your list apart.
Yeah. Well, look. You're not always going to get a list optimized to your theme. I will try and do that, but there are going to be times where we do deviate and go, well, actually, you know what, I just think you'd be much better off doing this, or maybe changing the theme to this. In this instance, I think this is a nice, strong Blood Angel army. It's not the most competitive thing in the world, but you could win games with it. And if you're clever, you know what you're doing, you know how to deploy, you know how to maneuver and use correct target priority, you can win a lot of games with it. It's still a strong list. I wouldn't say it's a weak list at all.
No.
So look, another list analysis done.
Yeah.
So there's 2 lists, one from the bone, one from the spider. So if you're interested in getting your own list analysed, like I said at the beginning of this video, jump on over to the Tabletop Tactics website. You can sign up for a free guest account on the Tabletop Tactics War Rooms, aka the forums, and you can submit your lists there. So until next time, folks, this has been the spider and the bone. We'll see you soon.